Hello. Hello. I wonder if I'm sharing my. Okay, I really want to share my audio because then I can do a soundboard. Uh, hey, Pietro. See
Hi.
you. Let's see if we can. Can you hear this? Trying to do the soundboard. Hey, George. Hey, Svet. How do I spell? How do you pronounce your name? Svetlozar.
Hello.
Yeah.
Svetlozar or Svetlo.
Svetlozar.
Yeah. Well,
Is that what country are you from?
Bulgaria. So
I was not gonna guess that. I was gonna guess Czech. But I know it's not Czech, so I stopped myself. Oh, Ron's joining. Hey, Ron. I guess it's the right time for you. Yeah, I see a few new faces. Hey, Kenneth, new faces as well. How's it going? Hey, so yeah, this is I'm trying to basically turn, like, we used to have monthly community meetups that were just general hangouts, like just generally like bring questions and ask. Like, I think it's difficult when there's no focused topic. So my idea is that we're gonna have like a assigned chapter or topic every week, and we'll just try to make it a thing. We don't have to stay on topic. We can go off topic if we want, but I just think it's like a nice way to hang out and meet you guys and talk about whatever. Does anyone have like news to share or like anything off the top to ask about before we get into the senior engineer topic? I've met some of you from last week, so hey Maribel, so yeah, I mean, yes, no, I'm gonna play crickets if no one is answering. This is my this is my if I ask a question and nothing happens, and contingency plan. Okay, so like, yeah, this is entirely supposed to be a discussion, right? Like, so I don't want to turn this into a webinar. I was thinking about, like, should I prepare some slides or something? I'm not sure, but at least over the course of this year, I'm planning to rewrite the book. So this is one of those things that is going to be helpful by like giving me your thoughts on like on just senior engineering, like any questions that you may have going over the chapters, anything like that. Sorry, did someone have I heard someone chip in, but I didn't see the name. Yes, no, crickets.
That might have just been some background noise.
All right, Ben. Why are you here? What's on your mind?
I'm not exactly sure because I'm one of the launch school students. I still haven't gotten my first developer job. So really, I wanted to use this as an excuse to stay up to date with the book and to learn from some of you all who have real experience. And I don't want to detract from the conversation. I won't jump in too much, but yeah.
No, well, I mean, well, you're welcome here, and yeah, definitely feel free to ask questions and stuff. Yeah, the book has always been focused on after you get your first job, what do you do, right? Which I think, like, there's so many resources out there for you to get that first job, and yes, it's a slog, but you're gonna do it. Like, just hang in there.
Yeah.
Which is why,
yeah,
like,
my goal is to go into that job hunt being intentional about the next few steps from what you've got here. That's what I'm excited about.
Right. In fact, like, I mean, I almost did not write this because I was like, I mean, I'm just repeating everything that people say, but it really matters, like, what kind of strategy you approach. Like, basically, like, are you doing scattershot, like just fire at 100 resumes a day, or are you really targeting the exact companies that you want to work at? So I've seen examples of both. So you can go from 9 companies to like 200 and something companies. I've seen that. I personally recommend the more targeted approach, but that means that you're less lucky and more intentional. So it depends.
Yeah.
Let's see who else. I'm gonna call on people. Pietro, I think you're new. Hi. Oh,
Yeah.
Kenneth.
Hi.
Oh, Pietro first.
First of all, I'm so grateful to get to know you through the book and through your work and the community, because I'm looking for my first job as a web developer, and honestly, going for the last year and a half through overwhelming stuff, internet and friends and everything. Finally, I found a place where I can focus, even if it's really overwhelming. For example, when I saw your mail about this meeting being from chapter 1 to 7, I thought, oh my God, it's too much. But then, because you know better than me the book, and then every line is a link and is filled of information, and it's really challenging in a way, but at the same time, it's a challenge for me to try to have a method, a system to work through the book. And so it's like an iterative process that I bring to my life of the book, and this is really helping me in being focused in one thing when I start one session. And so the book is read me 20 million times, and then maybe you will start to understand something. This is what is happening for me. So I went through the first chapter and like 2-3 weeks, but then with this input from you, in these days I went through the 7th chapter in a way, of course not so deepen, and actually the last chapter, between 5 to 7, was really revealing for me, because I understood what could be after this first period. So what is all about, because I don't know, actually. I didn't have the chance to do the first. I am not the first. I'm doing things with my friends, project and stuff, but not being there, I don't know what means to be a web developer, a senior, a mid-level. So that was really interesting to understand. I don't want to speak for the whole hour.
No, I love your passion. Well, just keep in mind that my experience and my general network, and therefore the book, is very US centric, right? So the career ladders that we talk about, the career progression, and sometimes the pay scales as well, is very US centric. So it may differ from country to country, but obviously, as long as we're in English speaking tech worlds, they tend to converge. So they're not going to be.
And I think
the
mindset have to be the same, because there are things that are the same all the world. And so I have friends in every part of the world do project, and we are speaking the same language, not English, but the same kind of stuff that are happening in our mind, So it doesn't matter if it's US centric.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I really appreciate that feedback. I'll give you one more comment, and then I'll turn to Kenneth. And if you see on social media, a lot of the times there are two major landmarks in a developer career if you only have your perspective from social media, which is you get that first job and then you get senior engineer and then you're set for life, right? Like, which is so ridiculous. Like, actually, that's just getting started. Like, there's so much else beyond that. So I want to give some balance as to, like, actually for most people,
but actually I don't believe in that, because I was a senior in another kind of field. So I'm new. I'm a junior developer now, but actually I'm not junior. So I know that it's not the end, that one. I know.
Yeah. As you might know, I don't really believe in the labels that much. Okay, Kenneth, you've had your hand up for a while.
Thank you, Sean. Actually, I'm very happy to be in this community. I actually joined your book after hearing you speak in a podcast, the Serverless podcast. That's where I heard you speak, and there was a link to buy your book. So I got your book.
Thanks for checking it out.
Yeah, I'm still reading the book actually, as Pietro said. The book has got really, the links leads you to, it's like peeling an onion. You click on that link and another book just opens up. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm kind of reading the book very slowly, but reading the links. The links are really interesting, and they give you an idea of all sorts of areas that you never thought of. It's not only about your career, but how to, increase your pay, gives you all kinds of flavors about how you can take your career to the next level. To me, I'm actually trying to break into the IT, into the developer job. I moved from the UK to the US last year. I'm actually 1 year now in the US. And in the UK, I was a math and computer science teacher. So when I planned to move here in the US, I started doing more of coding, learning how to develop, by myself using Python. So I've been doing that. And last year, I had about 7 to 10 different interviews on, jobs that required me to be a software developer using Python. I wasn't successful. So I was asking myself, what else can I do to break in? Because I have never worked as a software developer. I'm trying to enter the sector. And I also just got, using LinkedIn, I saw a bootcamp that was like training people to become DevOps. So I joined that bootcamp to try to expand myself into entering this sector. At the moment, I'm doing a bootcamp that is to finish in, it's a 6 months bootcamp that I'm studying cloud engineering and using AWS. So I've done the first certification, the cloud practitioner, which I passed it about a month ago. And I'm preparing for the other certifications, which is the solutions architect. And I also plan on doing the developer certification as well. So I'm finding cloud engineering to be really nice, and it's opened my field, it's opened my knowledge about software development. And before actually joining this cloud space engineering, cloud space, that's how it's called, I didn't actually know how to launch a server. So after joining the bootcamp, I was doing it, I was reading it theoretically, but I couldn't do it practically. Even if I did it by myself, I didn't really know what it meant. But after being in this bootcamp for about 3-4 months now, it's given me the confidence to say, yes, I think actually the pieces are actually coming together, how to become a software developer, how to really become a, I don't know, I would say full stack or just back end or front end, but my purpose is to be a cloud engineer. So yeah, your book is actually helping me, to do that. I don't know if you can have some more, tips for me into joining this sector.
So
yeah.
Yes. Have you I probably mentioned Forrest Brazil in the book, but I don't know if you come across it yet because he's kind of buried inside. Have you come across the Cloud Resume Challenge?
No, I haven't. The thing is, where I teach, because currently I'm teaching in a school in DC. There in that school, I usually read you got about 4 chapters that are free chapters. I've read those 4 chapters because I can't actually log into my book, using my Google account, because the account that I've got at work is different from the one at home. So I read the 3 chapters in school. Then when I come home, I think it's about 3 weeks now, I haven't gone into my account to carry on reading from where I stopped. So I've done the four free chapters that you've got, that I'm planning.
Well, okay. Oh, well, let's fix that.
So I'm just reading the book randomly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the Cloud Resume Challenge is run by Forrest Brazil. He's now the chief of content at Google Cloud, which is a ridiculous title. But basically, it's how to get into the cloud industry. And he set out this challenge, which is basically like you complete all these, including like setting up CI/CD and all that on AWS, on Azure, on GCP, just pick one of them. Don't go all three. That's ridiculous. But pick one of them, and then he will basically introduce you to someone to try to hire you. And there's a book equivalent for that as well. It's pretty cheap compared to what you're going to make as a cloud engineer. So yeah, I mean, this is the best way into cloud. Don't even bother calling yourself full stack. Don't even bother calling yourself whatever. Just like if you like cloud, just say you're a cloud engineer and do all the things that he tells you to do. I think it's a very, very clear path. And the more you dilute your interest, then the harder it is for people to place you in like what category, what box should they put you in for hiring, right? If you say you're interested in cloud, okay, people know what to do with that.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Kenneth, that's awesome. Yeah, let's make sure to fix that login situation. And yeah, every now and then people have troubles. Okay, did anyone have like questions, thoughts about just like the junior to senior path? I'm happy to recap some things that you should know. Juan had a question. Hey, Juan.
Oh, hey, can you guys hear me well?
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, so I do have some questions as well. Going through the book pretty slowly and steady because of the many links.
I'm so sorry.
Which they're great, by the way. So thanks. But yeah, I might be a bit out of context here. But I do have some questions. And I was wondering, for example, as you get to that senior level, that tends to happen because you tend to be a better communicator with your team and with the product itself, and also with the stack that you work with, right? The team and the product itself is something you can carry with you, but what about the stack? What do you think about, like, for example, if you get to be a front-end senior developer, and then you maybe want to try backend, how does that transition work? Is it a good idea? Does it ever happen and whatnot?
So I've done it, right? I went from front end to back end.
Oh, I was not
aware. So yes, it happens, but also yes, it's very rare. If you want to do it, I think.
Yeah, sorry.
If you want to do it, I think you should. I mean, don't feel afraid if you want to do it, but also yes, you're going to lose a lot of your capability and knowledge in your current stack in order to learn a new stack. And you're going to have to essentially reset yourself, like, eat humble pie for a little bit, because you used to be so confident and so expert and so fast in some things. And now you're like asking and Googling basic stuff. And I think that's normal because it essentially is a minor career change still within development, but it's a minor career change. But then you come out of it knowing more stuff. So why not?
And do you think it's like, was it worth it for you, for example? Did you enjoy the change?
Yes, it's worth it for me because like it aligned with my core interests. And okay. I also felt like the stuff that I was interested in the back end would make more money. And that turned out to be true.
That's all.
So yeah, this is the reason this is like a private community rather than a public one. So I nearly joined a front-end startup, Gatsby, which has like died. I mean, it's still alive, but like it's the usage has just completely gone down. And I don't, as far as I understand that, I don't think they've ever really made any serious money. And it was actually just pure luck that like I moved myself towards from front end to serverless to cloud, and then cloud to backend. But like that decision path between front end and back end was purely based on one person at Gatsby not liking me. Otherwise, I would have joined them. So I don't know. Like it's basically not very conscious. So I wonder if anyone else has made that transition or is thinking about making the front end and back end transition. I feel like this is something that we talked about before. Brian, I see you nodding.
Yeah, that's actually what I wanted to talk about, because I actually like am going through that whole process right now. And it's like kind of overwhelming. Like it's been exciting. Like I got into the industry like from UI UX, and then I was like, okay, but I can't make an app out of this. So then I needed to learn React. And then it's like, wait, I can't make it do anything because I need to learn functions. and then I
Yeah.
can't save anything because I need a storage, I need backend, I need like
functions are so
auth.
useless by themselves. There's no state. Like
Yeah. And like the book, like your book was just really helpful because it helped to kind of contextualize a lot of the things that I've been going through. And like as a creative, it's like I constantly like I'm hitting my head against the wall a lot because I'm like the back end stuff has been really confusing, I'd say, until like about a month ago when I started writing functions, like even just a counter function for like a social media type app, how like something can iterate on one or go back to like the previous state. And like using useState was like, there's like stuff that comes up and it becomes really hard for me. So that's kind of where I'm like crawling. Like front end was much easier for me because I'm creative design. Back end is like much harder for me, but I'm making progress and like doing a lot of, I do like blockchain, like smart contracts now, and like contextualizing it as public functions has been really helpful for me to like understand like there's a function that I call and this button does something and it runs some sort of compute. That's been helpful. But yeah, I'm definitely in like there's definitely a lot of stuff that I'm still learning, actively trying to learn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a few things here. I think there's a part in the book where I talk about, I think it's Kyle Simpson, where you should try to learn one abstraction level below where you work, because that's where sort of the metal is as far as you're concerned, and then you can be more productive at the layer that you are trying to work. I think the problem with this idea is that it's a constant yak shave, because like at some point you're never happy until you go down to understand how electrons work. You have to stop somewhere, and so I think you have to be okay at some point not knowing how things work and just saying, okay, this is enough for me. But it's kind of really up to you, like your definition of enough. Like a lot of people are very happy living here and very productive and they can make millions of dollars. And they're like, why would I learn anything else? Like I can just hire people for that. Whereas for some of you, like I must know how to do a database stuff myself, right? If you feel that need, then go ahead, like be an engineer, but you don't necessarily know be a backend engineer, but you don't necessarily need to know internals of databases, which is kind of like one layer lower. So that's why I kind of draw up like the career layers like this, because it gives you a context as to like where do you want to live, because the lower level you are, the better, but then the further away from users you're going to be.
Yeah, the diagram is really helpful for me because I'm like definitely not trying to get into hardware, and I kind of made that decision of like I'm not really focusing on IoT. Like you can get shiny object syndrome with like so many things, like especially in like Web3. There's like NFTs, there's crypto, there's just smart contracts, there's decentralized applications, and it's like even just authentication with wallets. And like I'm realizing that I'm one of those people that likes to jump into like many different things, and I'm kind of trying to like have more restraint now in like my dev journey. And like this is like a great chart for me to think of because I'm using like for someone Kenneth, I think were you someone who said like you're learning AWS stuff? Like I'm using the AWS Amplify framework, and that's been really great. And then I talked to devs and they're like, well, it's actually not that great because you should really know how to do like CloudFormation templates and YAML. And I'm just like, okay, like maybe I'll get there at some point, but like kind of learning like enough to get by. And like the Amplify framework's been really helpful to contextualize serverless cloud. But yeah, it's like you could go down the path and learn everything, but then like 5% of many things as opposed to like excellence.
Yeah, that's not useful to anyone. Yeah, exactly.
So I totally agree with what you're saying, 100%.
Cool. Well, it's on page 6. It's I think about this a lot. Maybe there's some things I would change today because I wrote this like 3 years ago, but not really. I mean, maybe like you can fudge around with the categorization or move this up one layer or down one layer, but it doesn't matter. Like, where are you? Where do you want? And where's the bulk of the value that you are? Okay, Ishan has a question about how does learning a layer below translate to cloud systems? I'm currently doing a side project with Lambda and DynamoDB. There's no layer below for me. Oh, honey, you're wrong. Yes, there are layers below Lambda and DynamoDB. But if you're happy to stop there, then fine. But yes, there are layers below. Have you read the DynamoDB paper? Do you know how Lambda is run with Firecracker? Stuff like that.
No. Yeah,
You
maybe
don't
I
have to
should
know,
look at
right?
that.
Like that's why there's a clean contract. All these solid lines are clean contracts between layers. They're like, we got it. You don't have to know us until you run into some scaling or performance issue. You're good. You just use what we tell you to use, and you're fine. You know, and so I think that's okay. But I definitely for sure, like maybe I think what you could be asking is like, if you're already here, do you need to learn hardware? This is the part that I don't really know, because you're saying if you're currently at cloud, and do you like, you know, and cloud to a very large extent abstracts away hardware to virtualize it so that you don't have to ignore the physical elements. So that you can ignore the physical elements. Maybe I see like, so my key example for this is Jess Frizzell. Oh, where's not earlier? So Jesse was a key contributor to Docker throughout Docker's prominent phase, right? And I was like, okay, you're the Docker person. Like, I'll listen to you on everything Docker. And then she, like, in 2019, she starts like talking about firmware. I'm like, why you start talking about firmware? You're the containers person, right? Like, you're here. You're Miss DevOps. Why are you starting talking about firmware? And that's because she learned enough that she started being unhappy with the existing hardware firmware layer that we have today. So now she's working on a company that solves that. So I would say like most people would just stay within their lane there, but then some people will go down because they understand the opportunity that exists between these layers. I don't know if this is helpful, Ishan. I'm just giving you my thoughts.
Yeah, it is. Thanks. Yeah, I had actually totally missed thinking about Firecracker and all of that. I did come across, and it was trending on.
I think Firecracker is
like a year or so back.
Firecracker is a bit too recent. You should read the things that are old. Like this one. This thing is like 13 years old. No, 15 years old. And it is the founding thesis behind, like, this is one of the most important computer science papers ever, right? So like the longer lasting something is, the longer it is more like it's more likely to be relevant going forward, right? Like you get more return in your time reading this stuff than the Firecracker stuff for now, because Firecracker is so new still. I mean, it's like 4 years old, but there's for serverless stuff. This is the other paper that's super. Yeah, this one is everyone quotes this one. So check these out. I'll just drop the links in the chat so you can go follow up on it. But like, you see how like if you drink from a different hose of info that is biased towards knowledge that will last, then over time your knowledge will compound much better than if you're just reading news every day or you're reading like memes or whatever. So I really try to convey that sense of compounding knowledge, right? So I think I have another diagram for this. Yeah, right there. So it's kind of like this, right? Like if you try to emphasize knowledge that it's going to last longer, then it stacks. Whereas if you sort of jump around for like the hotness of the day, then it doesn't stack. And that, like, over time, like over the next, like, 40 years of your career, like that's just the only way to to really stand out over others who are not really intentional about how they think about what they consume. I say this, I don't always follow this. Okay, please don't view me as like some kind of like nerd, or I don't know, whatever. I mean, I just think this is just true. It's just like once you've understood this, there's no way to dispute it. So I like to share these ideas. Okay, we originally scheduled for 30 minutes, but that is for people to join. But I'm happy to go over another 30 minutes because typically conversations, especially if they're good, they just run long. So who else has like thoughts on like junior dev, senior dev? Like your personal questions are welcome as well. Like personal, like, hey, I'm thinking about this career, topic, and this is like a nice small group to get thoughts. Oh, Svetlazar, you're up.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, I'm super grateful to be part of this community, and I'm super happy to have this book. I wish it was available 7 years ago when I started out in this field, and now I'm still trying to figure out how my career goes. So in that sense, one of my questions is, when you are, when you have been mostly learning on the job, you haven't had a background in computer science or haven't studied it in university. How do you know, because one of the things mentioned in the book, in the 5th chapter, I think, is one of the things that the senior knows best is like they have a solid understanding of fundamentals. And this is probably kind of naive, but how do you know what fundamentals, like what is the agreed upon list of all the like fundamentals which you need? Like, is there something like that first? And then a second question, which kind of doesn't have that much related to that, is how do you identify the gaps in your knowledge? How do you know what to focus on once you've identified that? And
I don't have good answers here. I was just gonna say, like, I don't know everything. Does anyone have thoughts on like what? How do you figure out what fundamentals are and what gaps in your knowledge might exist? I can give you some thoughts, but like I wanted to see if who else has ideas.
I started learning a couple of things without kind of wanting to say it that way, or without knowing I wanted to. This happened because my manager at that time suggested that I get more into like the newer stuff, get a Twitter account and follow people, go to conferences and whatnot. So, and I think that's one of the things that you could do. Basically, conferences, they tend to have a lot of information, but 1, 2, or 3 things are really, really critical to you and will stick. And maybe you could dive deep into those. So basically kind of exposing yourself to figuring out what is out there that might be missing and then going into that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. So basically, just expose yourself. So learn what is out there and try to figure out which parts of these are kind of common, or like what are the things that you see most, and then just focus on understanding those first, if I understand correctly.
Yeah. So the thing is, you can go in depth with things that are out there, but what if the thing that you really want to know is something you haven't even been introduced to, right? Yeah. So that's basically it. Once you understand what is out there as options, then you can dive into something that you really, really want or need to learn.
Well, one thing I'd warn against is delving too deeply into roadmaps and like big lists of you need to know this, you need to know that, in order to be X. You end up learning a lot of things that you don't end up needing to use for the things you want to achieve. So I'd recommend just doing side projects or whatever it is you're doing at work. Dive deep into that, and you'll find there are things that you want to achieve that you can't, that you think, oh no, I need someone else's help on this, or I feel like throwing in the towel for this. Those are the things you want to spend time on brushing up on, because you can read, some Twitter thread that, 10 things you need to, every, real developer in this field needs to know. And, 4 or 7 of them, they're probably just, buzzwords of the month. It's like, hey, everyone needs to learn, remix run now if you want to be a real developer. Like that's not how you roll once you want to get real work done. So just do what you feel like doing, and you'll find those gaps. Like you'll feel the pain of those gaps, and they'll make themselves known to you.
Yeah, one of my favorite tweets is where I screenshotted all these guys who are like trying to grow the Twitter following by writing listicles, like Forbes listicles of here are 5 tools that will save you 2 hours a week, and then the 2 went to like, here are 5 tools that will save you 4 hours a week. Then obviously this is an arms war, right? So you need to find here are 5 tools that will save you 5 hours per week, and then this guy 10 hours per week. So the lists are better and competing to save you a number of hours per week until you get your entire week back. No, yeah, actually, I was actually going to say like, there are, this is very, very well known because it's extremely popular every single year. I think it's a good idea to take a look at it to see, if you haven't heard of something, maybe check it out. But yeah, I think understanding your needs versus learning because people tell you should learn it. Understanding your needs is probably more important, because there's an infinite amount of things to learn anyway. So you need to know how to not deal with that. Well, yeah, okay. I got two more raised hands from two Chads. So one of you has one of you can say hi.
I have no problem fighting to the death to get my question in. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, which one?
Well, the one that wants to fight. I mean, Chad Stewart. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess I wanted to ask in terms of like seniority, can you be senior without being like the most technical person in the room? Like, so I'm kind of trying to imagine like you don't necessarily know everything about like the tech stack or the product, but you're the person most willing to take ownership on solving particular problems. And you do that over time, you will eventually kind of become the go-to person for a particular technical problem. But like, can you be just the person willing to take ownership on things and kind of be senior that way? Or do you have to be like some level, do you have to have like some level of technical ability before anyone will be willing to consider you senior?
I think you do have to have some technical ability. That's without question. If you look at most the most objective way to view this is to look at career ladders, right? Because this is how companies publicly say that they're going to evaluate you on whether or not you're a senior. And most of them have some form of technical competence bar for you to reach before you're sort of qualified as a senior. You don't have to know everything. And I think that's a very unsustainable solution. And especially as you go into management, as you go into sort of technical advisor roles, you don't have to know everything, but you need to know how to ask the right questions and you maybe also need to know the right people to talk to who do know the things. So in other words, my short form version of this is I don't need to know everything if I know people who know everything. Right. So, but yeah, if I think that's a long-term point of view. The short term is that to get the senior title, then yes, you do need to prove technical proficiency. Otherwise, it's like you're not contributing on your core value proposition as an individual contributor. Does that help? Like, is there an underlying reason why you're asking this?
Yeah, because I feel like I'm kind of in that position where like I don't feel like I'm the strongest technically, but I feel like I'm the most willing to and I don't know if I am more willing to take ownership of something than other people, but I do kind of trend towards just being willing to take ownership on different things. And
wait, like so I want to pause you there. Why do you feel it's so important to be willing to take ownership on things?
I don't know.
How come no one else in your team is feeling that way?
Well, it's not even like no one else on my team is feeling that way. I just feel like I'm not necessarily comparing myself to the rest of I guess I might have by accident, but like I know that like whenever there's a problem, I'll like, hey, I'm willing to work on this, like I'm more willing to work on problems that I kind of understand from the get-go, but a lot of the times it's like, yeah, I'm willing to work on this. I'm willing
even though you're not sure that you can do it.
Right.
Okay. I think that's a very positive learning attitude, but just keep in mind that it's not your job to pick up everything. It is not your job. No one's going to give you a gold star for saying, oh, wow, look, Chad is so willing. Let's like give him a bonus or give him some promotion. Like No, like just willingness alone, just your hungriness alone. Like an intern is super willing. Like it doesn't matter if you can't do the job. So just be mindful of that. Obviously, try to stretch yourself. Obviously, being able to do stuff that other people don't do actually is a very good career moat. But just be careful. Like, don't take pride in it. You know what I mean? Like, it's an opportunity for you, but it's not a point of pride because you will be taken advantage of.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
So I guess it's okay. No, all right. Thanks.
And yeah, and also, like, this is something that I've also had to learn myself. Like, it's also not about the number of projects that you take on. It's more about the impact of the projects that you do complete, do take to completion, right? So if taking on more projects and you complete all of them and they all have high impact, amazing, right? But something's got to give there. And oftentimes, if you're taking on a bunch of projects and then dropping half of them, or like not being able to finish some of them, that actually is damaging for you. So you have to be selective sometimes about it. And I have walked this actually is in my current job right now. I took on a project, did it for 2 months, and then the scope started creeping. My CEO wanted to do more stuff. I told him, I walked away. I was like, this is not what I signed up for. I'm dropping this project. He took it, ran with it for 4 months, and now it's back to me. But like during that period, at least I'm not accountable for this project that I do not think is going to succeed. And it sounds selfish, but it's oftentimes the only way you can give feedback to the company about like where you think things should go. So like just the raw willingness, like nobody's going to give you a gold star essentially. I'm really trying to sort of remind you that.
No, I understand. Do you mind if I ask a quick, well, it might not just be a quick follow-up question, but
yeah,
like something I kind of wanted to ask as well is like, and it might sound like a really silly question, but what do you view as impact? It's been like something I've been kind of.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, easy question is money. Does it lead to saved money or earned money? If you can directly trace the money, fantastic. But oftentimes engineering doesn't have that clear of an impact to the bottom line. So then you have secondary metrics like performance, build time, amount of I don't know what the impact, qualitative responses from people, the unblocking of like number of engineers that you helped. I don't know. Engineer hours saved, for example. I think a lot of it comes down to performance when it comes to secondary impact. Ability to scale. Sometimes, or let's say error rates dropping down. This thing used to error 3 times a week, and now we just dropped it down to 0. That's fantastic. So those are some examples. Thanks, Maribel. Thanks for coming by.
Sorry. It sounds like it seems like it's always one-to-one to like some attribute that you're interested in a sense. Like
yeah, and again, this is very political. You said one attribute that you are interested in. That's not true. It's one attribute that the business is interested in. Because it doesn't matter. Like no one cares about what you're interested in. It's what they are interested in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. All right. Thank you so much.
Right. Cool. Maybe I'm a little bit too cynical, but yeah, things don't have value independently. They have to be assigned value by the people around you and the people that you work with. Otherwise, you will not get recognition for your work. Okay. I think we have one last question from Chad. Other Chad. Sorry, you've been waiting for a while. Thanks for waiting.
That's all right. My question maybe this is crazy, but my background's in computer networking. When I first started in IT back in 2003, went back to school for CS back in 2010. Moved to Canada, which really kind of hurt my development, building up my development career.
Helped or hurt? Helped or hurt?
Hurt. because I moved into a remote area with hardly any internet and no one really to talk with. So I've still been struggling trying to get kind of into development. I've been working at a university for the last almost 4 years, and most of my work has been in that service layer with DBA database development. And there's been a lot of stuff happening there where they're starting to push everything to manage cloud services. And now I'm starting to kind of look for something because they're replacing most of our senior level analysts with basically the same level as me. And so I'm feeling like they're really just limiting any sort of advancement in my career. So I'm looking for something new.
Yeah.
Probably something still in the same area. What is the best way to, I know it's about practice, but what is kind of the best way to practice working on like the back end stuff to really get a good handle of it? Because you clearly have to have some sort of front end stuff to do, right? Maybe something more simplistic and not focus as much on, like most stuff I'm working on front end would just be like some simple React apps or something.
Are you're trying to develop some kind of portfolio?
Or I'm trying to do that, yeah. And I've been getting a lot of contacts going through Randall Canna's Hack the Technical Interview course. So I'm on her cohort for this term, and I've got like Monday I'll have a couple of back end roles I'll be doing a call on just to kind of hear about them. And so I'm just trying to get prepped for some of that type of work, for back end type work, because that's kind of where I want to go since I've been staying in there. And of course, with computer networking, a lot of your work is back end work. So
yeah, wow.
So portfolio.
I haven't given this much thought. If anyone has an idea, please feel free to chip in. But I need to think about this a little bit.
That's all right. I can follow up later with on the platform. I kind of figured this is a bigger question. I still haven't read through.
It's a good question. It's a really good question.
Because you showed that diagram with the front end roadmap, but then the back end's quite a bit different. So,
I mean, there is one for the back end.
I'll look at that one too.
I don't necessarily stand by it, you know.
Yeah.
like Ron was saying. Yeah, it's right here. They because like basically they got successful with one roadmap, and then they were like, let's just do this for all the things. So they have front end, back end, DevOps, Reacts, whatever. But you know, it's one guy's opinion. Who knows? Like, do you need to know in memory management to be a back end developer? Maybe not.
Nope.
No, not really.
Not necessarily. No.
But you know,
like most of the work is going to be like integration work. So like a lot of the work that I'm doing right now is kind of like that, but most of the business logic lies in the Oracle environment. So like the role that I'm going to be talking about on Monday, it's like, well, I kind of do that kind of work, but we stay within one environment. We don't have APIs and all this other crazy stuff that I read the job posting. It's like in cloud, taking APIs, modifying APIs.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel that's something I could do. I'd have to, you know, do a little bit of work on my own individually just to kind of get up to it. But I know that I feel it's within my capability to do that.
Yeah.
So
okay, and I heard you almost mention the side project stuff. Definitely, like if you can come up with some kind of side project that that stretches you or showcases your skills, I think it's useful. Okay. I'm still very hung up on the fact that you said that you used to do a lot of networking things, because networking has been to a large extent commodified by cloud.
Right.
But accordingly, the knowledge of networking in developers in general, and I heard this coming from like a CTO mentor that I have, is abysmal. Like we all suck at networking. we don't know like a tenth of the things that you know. So there's got to be a way to capitalize on that.
And that's what I'm trying to find, what I can do with that. Like, how do I get into development while also taking all the knowledge that I've had I did 7 years as a network admin, but still do networking. So
So, okay, so I have one project for you and then one area for you to explore.
Okay.
So people here probably know that I'm a huge, massive fan of Julia Evans, and she did a side project for you to learn DNS recently, right? Have you come across this?
I have not.
So you know how like every time we change stuff in DNS, it's always like a heart surgery operation because like it might randomly take like a day to
a day or two for it to propagate. Yeah.
So she created a sandbox for you to try it out and like with its own domain, with like you cannot mess this up. Like the worst thing that can happen, you just get a new one. And this is like a really beautiful side project, right? Yeah. So what's a similar problem in networking that people are just super not confident about? And can you make a sandbox where people can just try it safely?
Oh, okay. I see what you're going with.
There's got to be something like that.
There's got to be, yeah. I'll have to look because
okay.
I can't, DNS for sure is definitely there, but I couldn't think of anything off the top of my head right now that would be.
The benefit of being a first mover is that she always takes the easy ones, right? But also like, okay, look, like you can so she's got 3 exercises, she's got 5 examples here, 3 more here. These are not the only DNS problems that you've ever faced.
No.
So maybe look at this and see what's missing.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Second thing. Are you familiar with the service meshes?
With what?
Service meshes.
I've heard the word before, but I'm not as familiar with it.
I would maybe dig into it to see if it's interesting to you.
Okay.
Because again, this is a very, very networking heavy part of the stack that is experiencing a lot of innovation that nobody knows nobody understands.
Well, that's good to know because that would be nice to tie that in.
Yes. Yeah. And particularly if you like, so the extreme like high octane version of this is going to be eBPF, which is mostly focused on which is mostly focused on the Linux kernel. But they're using it eBPF service mesh. There's a version of this that is okay. Basically, they're sort of tying together these 2 technologies to innovate on the service mesh. So you're gonna have to do a kind of like a bank shot here. You're gonna have to first learn about service meshes, then you're gonna have to get up to speed on eBPF. Okay. But as far as I understand it, like this is one of the more interesting things that's going on in networking right now. So if you have so much background that you could probably get up to speed faster than most people here.
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with all layers, all that fun stuff. So yeah, okay, cool.
All right, I'm like well out of my depth here. Like this is the max of my knowledge.
Just it was just a simple question of kind of how can I take what I've already learned and transfer it over and try to make it useful.
Yeah.
Stuff. So it was, it's.
I feel you. Yeah. Is there a reason? Yeah. And you're not. I mean, obviously, most people are remote now, but you're not gonna move back to a tech hub ever.
Probably not. I live out in the middle of nowhere. Like I move into.
I know, but it's your choice, right? Like, yeah, you could move if you want.
I could. I'd probably get divorced, but
Oh, okay. Well, then it's not your choice. So.
No, it's not really much of a choice. Yeah, no, it's yeah, that's where it gets really complicated. Like I got the university degree for me to work from home since before the pandemic. So yeah, so it's really been not something I've been wanting to do. So I mean, if there's a place in town to work from, then maybe I'd do that. But we're a little small town in Canada, so not a whole lot of opportunities here. But thank you.
George says, yeah. Well, thanks for asking. I've seen you. Obviously, I've seen you talk about your university situation before, but talking to you sort of face to face makes it more real, and I really want to help as much as I can.
Yeah.
George also says, dig into networking specific languages. For example, Go is used for a lot of networking applications.
Rust is the one I'm wanting to look into.
Everyone wants to learn Rust.
Both of those. Because I understand that because I actually came from a similar situation where I started in IT and it was very networking heavy.
Yeah.
And digging into languages like Go, for example, helped me kind of use a lot of those skills as well.
Okay, good. Yeah, I do want to look at Go. I just want to look at Rust because it's got the steeper learning curve. So
it's new hotness. Do it.
New hotness. Always go for it. Well, okay. This was, a really good first meeting. I did not know what to expect. I'm still kind of winging it, which is why I'm very excited that you guys are here for the journey. Hopefully this is a fun conversation. Next time, do we have a chapter that people want to talk about next time? Because otherwise I'm just going to pick. Well, okay. The next one is
I'd actually be interested about seeing more thoughts and more discussion about the learning public chapter.
Yeah, that was going to be my next choice anyway. Yeah. Basically,
yeah,
so basically my plan is because the first 7 are very stage specific. I just kind of skip through those like pretty quickly. But then my goal is to just go every week chapter by chapter, and then we just talk about it. And if we got nothing to talk about, then it can be a short session. If we have a lot of stuff to say, then it'd be a long one. But also take your feedback and use it as input for me rewriting the book, because it's really time for me to do version 2. So your feedback is super well appreciated.
So then so we're just reading a chapter a week, or
chapter a week now?
Okay.
We had a heavy start. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
I didn't know where everyone was.
I saw the post really late, so I wasn't. Yeah.
But chapter a week. This one's obviously super well known, but we can talk about it forever. I've spent hours and hours talking about it. So let's do Learn in Public next week, and have a great weekend, everyone.
Right. You too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to do.
You're around.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Before you head out, I wanted to ask, where would would the recording be available publicly?
Yeah, well, not publicly, but I'll post it within the community so that people who couldn't make it can catch up.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, I never want people to feel like FOMO because like they're in the wrong time zone or something. So I think Europe is not ideal right now. So anyway, I'll post it up.
All right, thank you.
All right, then I play the Windows down noise, and we're done. Bye-bye.